And you're all putting in the work, and I'm really happy about that. Okay? Just keep showing up. Keep coming to meetings. That's how this thing works. Okay? Okay, and I see we have a new person at our meeting. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Actually, I have an activity we can all do together. We should go to Plastic City Comic-Con. There's just so much to do there. There's comic books, toys, games, anything you can ask for.
Wait, do you work for Plastic City Comic-Con?
Me? Work for Plastic City Comic-Con?
But we're all going to Plastic City Comic-Con, right? I thought so. Now, who here owes me money?
Plastic City Comic-Con! Saturday, August 19th. Game On Sports Complex, Fitchburg, Massachusetts. PlasticCityComicCon.com for info and tickets.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Indie Comics Relay. I'm your host, Keith Gleason, creator of the Mighty Mascots and the promoter for Plastic City Comic-Con. With me, is always, Johnny C., creator of Sartana, Surrounded by Death, and The Pond. What's up, buddy?
And The Pond for Roger Morocco.
How's it going?
What's up, my man?
Not much. I figured, change up the trailers, try to do that every once a year, maybe,
I loved seeing the return of my old Sartana trailer, and I loved seeing the new Mighty Mascots one. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
and
what
I
can't
made get enough of that Plastic City commercial. That's just
isn't that great? It looks so much
it.
nicer now that they color corrected it and added the ending. So, it
looks great.
I tried to get it on Hulu, but they are not getting back to me. So I wonder if they don't do commercials for events and things like that. Yeah,
or
I don't know.
Yeah.
I put in a thing for him last week, and then I got to check with I was trying to get it on cable, but I looked at my contact for there, and I don't think she works there anymore. I have no idea. I got to call the number tomorrow and try to find out.
For Cablevision. It's not even the same company anymore.
It's it was for Comcast originally, and now I don't know if I don't know if that's still a thing. I don't know. I'll have to find out.
Yeah,
but it's set to
craziness.
Go on Facebook and everything and Instagram then tomorrow. Cool. So it should get its rotation there. And you're going to be at the show. You were able to work it out, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, some people may or may not know, I do a little caregiving for my dad who's going through dialysis. But my biggest contention was that the show falls on the date of his birthday. So I was like, oh, well, it's going to be tough. Divide my time. I want to be there for him. And then I realized, and we figured out that his dialysis schedule is pretty much the majority of the show. So while he's there, I can just be at Plastic City and then leave a little early and then just go pick him up. So everything works
out good. Yeah.
Yeah, it works out
and
good.
So I have you
able to go.
I have you with your buddy Brian for the show, which
Brian
is nice.
Should be coming. Yep.
I was gonna put the map out to everyone in the load instructions today, but then I had another last minute dropout, so I was able to sell that table later on, a couple hours ago. So now tomorrow I hope to get the load in info and the map
finalized.
I'm hoping, that's the fun of being a promoter. It's like all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, I can't do the show at the last minute, so we'll see how that goes, But another major thing tonight, me and you've been talking about, Harry G, who's always been in the chat, probably since our earliest episodes, right?
Harry's been there
we'd
forever.
Have to ask him. He's a friend of mine that I used to work with at Deluxe. It's like a printing company, and then he comes to the conventions a lot, especially the Boston and Rhode Island ones and stuff. And but he's always funny. He always has the funniest comments in the chat. And we're like, why not try him out as a third co-host, and he was willing to do it. And so we're bringing him in as our third guy. So without further ado, let's introduce Harry G. Hey, what's up, man?
Harry G, what's up, man?
It's so weird.
we hate to lose you as a viewer, but we love to have you as a co-host.
I know it's so weird being on this side, seeing myself on your show.
Isn't it? After
Cool,
you've been
though.
watching us for so long, it must be
I know.
weird to look at it from this angle.
It's the dark times.
Do you feel
So-
do you feel the pressure of having to be the like third co-host like coming on you now, or
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I've been involved in like the Ed Cohen variety show. I've been on TV
God.
randomly, over the years. It's like it's not even, like my whole life's surreal. You know what I mean? So it's not like,
And so what Harry's referring to is a show that me and him went on last week it's a local cable access show in Westford, Johnny. And
my hometown actually.
I've been on some horrible interviews. Absolute horrible interviews, like for podcasts. I mean, I was on a show where the co-host fell asleep. I've been on these, like I've been on these, like
wasn't me.
So I've been on some of these.
Tired, but I never fall asleep.
Yeah. No, you always hang in there, which is awesome. But I've been on some horrendous shows. But show me and Harry went on last week has got to take the cake as far as like, what's that, Harry?
I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm sorry. I was trying to help out.
If we get one person that saw that will come to Plastic City, it's worth it in my eyes. But yeah, it was. I mean, there was a dog on the set. There was the guy was like not prepared in the least. He just basically showed up and turned the camera on and did shtick for a half hour, and then we were just kind of there as his audience, right? I mean, Harry, is that an accurate?
Sadly, yes. This is a case where you wish the host did fall asleep.
Yeah.
but
Now,
guy,
I was just gonna say, there's footage of this, right? There's footage. that
There
you
is,
shared.
yeah. I'll have to
Nice,
bring it up, or I might try to download it and cut it up into the best moments. But
well,
there was
do
one
a bit.
point where we were talking about the show, and I mentioned that we had an escape room company coming to Plastic City, and the guy I forget, he made some lame joke, and I was just like, God, I wish I could escape from this interview under my breath. On the camera, he didn't hear it, but my God, it was just like, oh my Lord.
I was gonna say, I could see that joke coming. Like, I wish I could escape from this room. You know what I mean?
he's an old professor that I took, for my science elective back in the day, and everybody in the class bought the textbook for $60. College books are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And so the entire semester, nobody cracked the book open ever. And the guy never talked, never taught anything, no lessons, no nothing, no writing on the chalkboard, nothing. He just sat there and exactly what he does on the talk show, just sat there and told lame jokes and made dumb comments the whole time. It was just like, and at the very end, he gave us a surprise quiz. And of course, everyone failed it because he taught nothing. And I think he gave me a 63, and I'm like, at the end, I'm like, Eddie, a 63? I failed your test. He's like, yeah, Harry, you didn't pass it. You didn't get any. You failed it. I'm like, well, you taught nothing. It's like, well, why don't you write a paper? I don't know, like pick any topic from nature, from the environment, like any storm. And write a paper on it, and I'll grade that, and I'll be your grade. I'm like, all right, fine. So I just picked tornadoes, and I drew a picture of Dorothy and Toto being sucked up by a tornado. And I'm like, and it's like 2 pages long. I'm like, here you go. I was like, all right, A+, got it, you passed. I'm like, that was the whole class. That's how unprepared he is. You know what I mean? But,
That's wild.
Wow. And I bet he was fired. He had to be fired from that
well,
job.
I mean, I think he's in his late 70s now, so he's well retired. You know what I mean? So
okay.
I'm sure that's what it was. Hopefully,
Oh God, it was so cringy. But Amy was laughing her ass off at the interview because it was just so. And his co-host, I don't know how many times he accosted me about spelling out the address. Like he wanted me to literally spell out the address for the convention, and I was like,
drinking game, Keith.
"What's that?"
It's a drinking game every time you. Pretty much.
Right? I was like, felt I was on a spelling bee or something. It was just, oh my Lord.
And he would do that right after you put up the graphic with the address and the website.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It's too
But
funny.
Harry, so yeah, we were talking. How long have you been watching Indie Comics Relay
Well,
from the beginning? Was it?
I think I'm sure I missed the first few episodes because I didn't know you guys were doing it.
Right. We just kind of
We didn't even know we were doing it.
Yeah, probably early on.
Those early ones are rough though too.
Yeah.
We didn't know what we were doing
It was
yet.
COVID. I'm sure we're all out. I mean, I was out. I wasn't working during the time, so I found you during the dark, COVID time. So
Yeah, COVID era was like dark times, like you said. The death of Vine. People. I was wearing sleeveless T-shirts. What the hell was going on? You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Paul and Cass living together.
Yeah. No, but I'm glad you did, because you become like one of our favorite, watchers, basically, with the comments and everything.
Like I said, we lost our best viewer, but we gained a really great co-host.
Oh, thank you.
I try to highlight most of your comments, but sometimes we get into the conversation and I kind of we go to other places.
We
but
go off on a tangent. Yeah,
but most of the time they're really good, so really funny, and and that's what we want the show to be, like very fun and loose.
Well, if you want, Keith, I can still text in my comments during the show.
Yeah, actually, the way StreamYard's set up,
we've got Harry G from the chat and live.
Wait a minute,
I think StreamYards did do something where you can kind of chat from your window right there.
I do see a bottom. Yeah,
you can, but it'll go to you whatever your linked accounts are.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, and it comments from there. That way you can watch it and not have to have it open in another window, I think is how they do it, right? So
right, exactly.
Before we bring in tonight's guest, though, let's go to the chat real quick.
Yeah, while we're doing that, also I have a exclusive.
Yeah, right.
Little Caesars.
Yep. Now, where's the Little Caesars around there?
Lowell. So I had to. So I was, since I'm at my work location, Lowell is really close by. So I was like, okay, let me go out and grab this because this is exclusive. You can only get it through Little Caesars.
Next time we go to the movies, Johnny, you'll have to shoot over there and grab me one, because
yeah, for sure. So and while we're going through comments, I'm gonna pop this because I'm really thirsty.
So it's a Pepsi with pineapple, right?
It's a pineapple Pepsi. Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
exclusive
go for it.
Little Caesars. Yeah, and while you're doing that, go through the chat here.
Joe, who is our guest, is here tonight. Was commenting as well, which is good.
Cheers, Joe.
Spicer McLeroy.
Cheers.
How's it
Spicer?
going, ICR? Spicer, thanks for coming in.
Smells like a peanut
welcome,
colada.
Harry from Structure Arts. Look at that.
Yep.
Thanks for having me.
Spicer says, thanks for holding these interviews and talks. Really value the insight of so many professionals. Yeah, thanks, man. Thank you for joining us, though. I mean, that's the whole reason we do the show, is just to chat it up and give a platform and a spotlight to indie creators, like ourselves and others, so.
And
Johnny.
Just to let everyone know that Keith and I used to work together, and I'm also an artist myself. I'm an illustrator, graphic designer, so I have some knowledge of things. So.
Yeah. Harry has some fun
We're not just pulling off any green guy off the street.
Right.
We got, you guys got some credentials now.
Yeah, that's true. We never got into your background, But yeah, you've been a graphic artist for a long time, right?
Yeah, since before we worked together at Deluxe.
Do you still do it? Do you work in the field now, or
I have a day job that doesn't relate to any kind of art at all, But then I think I was telling you last week when I saw you, I have a friend who has a print shop, and whenever he can get to a logo or a graphic, like a infographic or T-shirt design, he just has me do it, and so it keeps me busy.
Nice.
Keeps my foot.
Does he pay you? Pay you too? Yeah, good. That's good. So hey, freelance work,
Right. Yep.
Absolutely.
That's great. And RW, somehow my invites aren't coming through. RW, hit me up.
RW, last week I gave you open invite. You come on whenever you want. We'll just put you in there.
dude,
We'll give you the
let
whole
us know.
show.
We'll have you on the show. And yeah, it's pretty much Suspicious Glaze is with us. Thanks, man.
Hey,
Thanks for joining
Suspicious.
us. So Johnny, what's the
Mm.
verdict on that drink?
I don't normally like Pepsi, but I like this. So
Is it like the
best way-
Pepsi mango?
I haven't tried that, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But the best way I can describe it is if you took the Mountain Dew Baja Gold, which was like the Mountain Dew pineapple
that was
flavor,
good. Yeah.
and you mixed it subtly with a Pepsi, and you get that flavor coming through. So it's nice. It's not like super pineapple-y, but it's like a nice hint. Like this would go great with some coconut rum.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Like this would be go.
I gotta
really
try
good with some
that.
coconut rum.
And the only place you can get it is from Little Caesars.
Little Caesars, yeah. This is a Little Caesars exclusive.
Okay.
So you can't get it at a grocery store, you can't get it at a convenience store. You can only get it at Little Caesars.
Of course, the one near me closed like a year ago because that's my luck. But
normally I wouldn't be caught dead in a Little Caesars because I'm an Italian boy.
Yeah,
and
right.
That
they'll
pizza
take your
is
card
just
away.
They'll take my card right away. Exactly. So, but this drew me in. Like I wanted to try this. So,
Wait, isn't Caesar Italian?
But it's Little Caesars.
I will say their breadsticks are good, but their pizza is like it's like the worse than like gas station pizza,
Oh, it's atrocious.
Yeah, it's bad.
But this is pretty good. This I recommend this. Fuck the pizza. Go for this.
Okay, awesome.
Hey, Johnny,
all right,
did you your location tonight? Because your background looks different.
Yes, so I'm live from my office where I work. Yeah, and then because I have to dip out a little bit early, I'm close by to where I need to be. So I figured I'd do the show.
So you didn't
from
go
here.
home. Basically, do
Right,
you have enough work to get right till 8:30, or did you mess around?
Well, that Little Caesars run filled it perfectly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. I'll have to try to dip over there next time we go up to the movies in Lowell. So
yeah. Or just next time I see you, we can coordinate because I bought a few of these things.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So without further ado, let's bring in tonight's guest. Our guest tonight his name is Joe Worley. He reached out to me. He has a Kickstarter for a horror anthology, which right up your alley, Johnny. Horror and anthologies.
I'm in a lot of horror anthologies.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I figured. Like
Great Commandment, Cthulhu's hard to spell. Even though Great Commandments are religious anthology.
Well, it could be a horror, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, it could be a horror in somebody's eyes, exactly. But yeah, I think horror anthologies are great. I mean, look, some of the best TV series are horror anthologies. Twilight Zone, Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side. So, and even looking at their Creep Show, exactly.
Amazing stories. Yeah. All that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Good stuff. And yeah, so without further ado, let's bring in tonight's guest, Mr. Joe Worley. Hey, Joe.
Hello, how's it going?
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
I'm sure you've been listening backstage when we were talking about horror anthologies, So, well, let's go backwards. Usually the first thing we always ask our guests, especially a new guest, is your origin. Like,
okay.
Like, was it a movie, a cartoon, comic book, a TV show, something from your past that kind of put you on this path to wanting to be involved in comics? Like, is there something you can point to that kind of blew your mind open and you're like, I got to be part of comics,
Oh, I guess my origin story kind of starts with X-Force. I had a lot of X-Force comics when I was a kid.
90s one, the Rob Liefeld
stuff?
stuff?
Rob Liefeld stuff. And I had like, a bunch of different Spider-Man comics, but it was like, for some reason, X-Force was like my deal. I don't know how that happened, but
it spoke to you directly.
Well, I think everybody in the 90s, if you grew up in the 90s, you had Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man, you had X-Force, you had what was the X-Men with Jim Lee. I think those were the three, like the Trinity, books.
Yeah, I had
back
some
then,
like
yeah.
I had some like Alpha Flight too.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
more in the weeds.
Yeah. Alpha Flight was good though. I always
Yeah.
like Box. Like I don't know, I like that
Uh-huh.
character and Puck. I always think it was
Yeah.
good. Although
Yeah.
Puck seems like kind of racist now for some reason to me. But I
Never
don't.
thought about it, but maybe.
Yeah.
Well, there was
But
something very kind of like punk rock about Alpha Flight because it was
it
so
was.
like obscure and like
It was like
to be a fan
off-brand
of Alpha
X-Men.
Flight, yeah. Right.
Mhm.
And like if somebody didn't know, they'd be like, "Oh, I read Alpha Flight." They'd be like, "What? Like, what are you talking about?" Unless you know.
You don't know
You
Alpha
know,
Flight,
yeah.
bro. Come on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's such a weird name for a superhero team,
Mhm.
Alpha Flight. Like
Yeah.
it just makes
And
no
they're
sense.
from Canada.
Yeah, right. So I guess making sense is a Canadian thing, So,
Right.
but that's cool. I mean, everybody, we get that a lot. That answer, or it's usually Spawn, or something like that,
Mhm.
But so when you read those books, was it like you did your mind open up to the possibility to wanting to do comics? Or?
So, like in high school, I did comics, like like not comics with a capital C, but I kind of did little comics, blah blah blah, little
Yeah.
like kind of poorly illustrated, some like a little. I tried to get a little bit more detailed with it, but then like somewhere along the way, I like kind of fell out with comics, and then come to look for my old comics one day, and I think my dad probably threw them out or something. So
Ah!
so all that was gone. So I was
That's
just like, okay.
tragic.
So then I kind of gave up on comics for a while, and
Ah.
then randomly, like a while later, like years later, I kind of discovered Mike Mignola, and that was when I was like, oh, I really like this. Let's check out comics again. So that he
Yeah.
kind of was like my gateway back into comics.
Oh, cool.
After
Yeah,
that,
Mignola's great. I love his artwork. I wish he would do more. Like he seems to just be a writer now, and he'll do a cover here and there.
yeah,
But
I know.
I wish he would go back to doing full blown comics again.
Right? Yeah.
Miss that.
Yeah, him and another guy that I really like is Jim Mafood. And His
Oh,
style
yeah.
is like that kind of like crazy, like he calls it like punk or like funk, visual funk. That's what he kind of
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the thick
Yes.
lines he does. Like especially like I first noticed him when he did the very first Clerks comic for Oni
Mhm.
Press, and then they based
Yep.
the cartoon off of his artwork, and
Okay.
with the very thick
Yep.
lines, and yeah, it's got a unique style to it, which I like, which I feel like is been imitated a lot now, like
Yeah.
especially with like Invader Zim and things like that,
That guy's line in Artist Alley in Chicago always has a line. Like
Does it really?
it's always. Oh yeah, Jim's line is so long in Artist Alley. It's crazy.
And then he worked pot into like everything, right? Like it was like pot in the background. It was like, he was like one of those kind of guys, which I
Right.
always thought was kind of funny and punk, adds to that punk rock kind of feel
Yeah,
to
Yeah,
it.
yeah, definitely.
So that's awesome. And then now, so I saw that you have a horror anthology on Kickstarter. So are you a fan of like horror comics, horror movies, or?
Yeah, I'm not like a super big fan of it. The kind of origin of the comic book is a little bit more complicated than I just wanted to do a horror anthology. We kind of started out with me and one of my friends kind of like brainstorming together, like, oh, let's make a zine. So like, oh yeah, okay, let's make a zine. Let's come up with a title, and we kind of came up with like Death Itself as like the kind of overarching title, and we were planning on doing like maybe like a story a year, and just like maybe having different people contribute to it, and that kind of evolved into, well, if we're going to do one, I mean, if we're going to sell this thing, then it's not really going to be super viable to just do one little short 8-page story necessarily. So we're like, okay, maybe add a few more stories and bring in some more artists, and so it kind of evolved from that original genesis.
Gotcha.
Cool.
So is this the first comic you've ever made, or is it?
No, this isn't the first one. Like as an adult, I've made a few other ones. I've made like a kind of a political satire comic, and I had this other comic. There's a few other ones in there, but the other comic that kind of got a little bit more popular and kind of sold better than I thought it would was this mouse comic that doesn't have any dialogue or anything, and it's just this little mouse trying to survive in the wilds of kind of the Flint Hills ecosystem, and I'm actually it sold well enough that I've well. Let me back up a little bit. I'm part of an art collective called Brick Mob based out of the Wichita, Kansas area, and we do murals like around the regional
cool.
area. And one time we went down to Oklahoma City to do a mural at the Chicken and Pickle down there, and we were like, okay, a couple of our crew are vegetarians, so we're looking for a good vegetarian spot, and so we find the spot and we go down, and there's like a little arts district there. So as we were waiting for our table, we just walk around and we find this publisher, Literati Press, and we walk in there and you're looking at some books, and I noticed a comic, and I'm like, hey, I did a variant cover for that comic. And then I start talking with the guys, and they're like, oh yeah, and found out that they do publishing of some of their own books. And so I got talking with them, and they're like, they wanted me to send over like the mouse comic that I made, because it's more like kids friendly, like geared towards a younger audience. So I sent that over and ended up so they're going to be publishing the next 2 books of that. So
cool.
got
Cool.
kind of
Are they
deal worked out with them.
So awesome
have-
just to see your own work on the shelf too, though, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure you walked in not expecting that, right?
No.
That's really
I had
cool,
no
man.
idea.
That's really cool. Yeah, it
Yeah.
must have been
That's
a
very
good
cool.
feeling.
Very cool when that happens. Is this publisher, do they have distribution too, or is they like are they just still like smallish?
They're pretty small. They have somewhat distribution. I'm not really super versed in all the minutia of all that of all their
Gotcha.
business dealings, but like I have like an editor that I'm working with essentially.
That's
And then
nice.
we kind of
Yeah.
and I this comic book, I already had it kind of thumbnailed out. It's going to be a 2-book story arc for this one, but I have more for the future, but I don't even want to think about that right now. So we're focusing on the 2-book story
One step
arc.
at a time.
Yeah. And so I'm working with him, and so he doesn't want to give like super crazy edits, since I have all that kind of work put in and page layouts. But it's been an interesting process working with him and getting that put together. And the first book of 2 is done right now. It happened to get done almost the exact same time as the horror anthology. Just
Oh,
shows how
wow.
things
Oh,
lined
cool.
up. But
So you're working in stuff in tandem. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Harry,
Yeah,
did you have any questions for?
Yeah. First, I was wondering where everyone's from. So where are you located, or?
I'm in Wichita, Kansas.
Oh, nice.
And
yeah, we
what
get
kind of
people from all over.
how do you do your murals? 'Cause I've painted some myself, actually. I painted I used to work at a grocery store, and I painted like over 300 murals. I used to use acrylic paint on mine.
Oh,
So I
nice.
don't know. What do you use?
Oh, we use house paint,
House.
sometimes a little bit
Yeah.
sterner stuff if we're doing metal or whatnot. But yeah, usually just, kind of the higher end house paint, essentially.
And what do you paint? Like what do you paint on, or what?
Businesses, usually a lot of businesses. We did a baseball stadium.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just kind of stuff like that. Some pretty big ones, some smaller ones, just kind of.
If you have any, do you have any pictures of the mural on your computer? You can share it. We can.
Oh, this
pop
is
it up
somebody
in the
else's
chat.
computer.
Oh, is it?
You can go to brickmobbrickup.com. I don't know if you have a screen share.
Let me see.
option.
What's the address again?
It's brickmobbrickup.com.
That's cool that you're part of a collective. How big of a collective are you guys?
I think it kind of fluctuates. We have about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 8, roughly eight people right now, I think.
Now,
Oh,
so
wow,
do you
look at
guys all
this.
tackle the project together, or do you kind of go, okay, you guys go off there, you guys go off here?
Yeah, it's very much a
Collaborative?
collective, and we all kind of throw in designs. So it's like all sorts of different artist styles and we kind of work with the customer and kind of figure out what they want and what they would prefer. But
Yeah, look at it. Like they have wow. Look at these are really cool.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my God.
Wow, that must have been crazy to
Were
do.
you guys
right?
hanging from the side of that? To
We
paint that?
actually got somebody else to paint that one because
Oh, okay. I was
that's
like,
like it's
Jesus.
a whole nother deal.
Yeah,
That's
so
like
the
some Tom
insurance alone
Cruise
on that,
shit.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's gonna be like Tom Cruise, like swinging around and painting stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, these are great, dude.
Real cool.
Really, really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, we got all of our different artists are represented on these too.
Pretty cool. I
So
like that.
neat. Yeah, I love stuff like this. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, and that
Definitely.
red one up there was actually in a Fidelity Bank commercial. We kind of did
Oh,
it,
really?
and they
Oh,
kind of
really?
had their film crew come out and film us. Like we stopped at a certain point doing the mural so that they could film the last few steps of completion of the mural to put in their commercial. So
Oh,
that was
wow.
Do you
of
guys
fun.
get residuals for that?
No, I don't.
Oh,
not
no.
that I know of.
I'll be
Amazing.
like, where do I sign for residuals, son?
Yeah.
Right? Oh my God, that's awesome. Yeah, these are
Real
great,
awesome,
dude.
though.
And they're all over the place, huh? So you guys
Yeah.
travel like do they put you up and pay you travel to go out and do all this stuff? Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow,
Yeah.
really
Very
cool.
That one's in the stadium, the three panels. And then we got the coffee shop guy.
This is so cool. Yeah, I don't think we have anything cool like that around here, do we, John?
I know, not really. Yeah, I mean, there's that comic shop on that has all the superheroes on the side of it.
Yeah.
We talked about it recently. I forget the name of the place.
I know in Boston, if you go
Command
to
D.
Boston or neighboring cities around Boston, they have like those like electric boxes in the city, and they have like they're ugly. So if they have people paint murals.
Right.
Oh
right,
yeah,
right,
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is cool. I mean, you guys did a lot of these, huh? Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
we've been
still
doing it
that's really
for a couple years.
Wow, yeah.
Love it.
This is great. So, does it make you enough money, Joe, that you have to work a regular 9 to 5, or is this your job?
My main two jobs are the murals, and then I also do caricatures.
Oh, cool. So you
lot,
make a living as an artist then.
Yeah.
Awesome,
Very
man.
cool,
That's
dude.
great that you're able to do that.
Yeah.
What do you charge for your murals? Is it
It's by square foot, and we kind of figure it out with the customer, like how much detail do you want, and like all that type of.
that was always a huge question for me when I was doing it. Like, how do you charge? Like by the size of it, or by the like the square footage or the detail of it? There's like so many things involved in it that, and it's not like one time sitting. You gotta do let it dry. There's many layers, and it's like highlights and lowlights, and like
the first
Yeah,
one.
it's like painting it a couple times, right?
Yeah, the first one I went in and to the meeting, and I was like, okay, $10 a square foot, and I was like, here's what we want, and they didn't bat an eyelash, so I was like, okay, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
If it works,
okay.
it works. Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's a good question for most freelance artists. I mean, like, even with my lettering, I have sometimes I have a hard time picking out like what I should be paid per page, especially like when you get a page that has one word balloon on it,
Right.
and that's it. And then you have this other page that has a million word balloons and nothing, what I mean? Hardly any art.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it's like, it's weird. You're trying to find that balance.
Well, it averages itself out, right? You
does,
overpay
yeah.
for one page,
Yeah.
and overpay for the other. You know what I mean?
Right, but like I often wonder that too with comic artists, like especially indie artists, how they, because if you went on Facebook and said, "Hey, I'm looking for an indie comic artist," you're going to get tons of different prices, So it's like I often wonder how people kind of come up with their prices and things like that.
Yeah, I haven't really researched that a whole lot. I haven't really figured out how to make money with comics yet, honestly.
Oh god,
that's why this is the
Join the
Kickstarter.
club.
The Kickstarter, I was like, you know what? Let's just throw it up there. And I've sold comics before, but it's like that little trickle of money coming in. I'd rather have like a little bit at the beginning for all the like.
It makes
effort
it
that
work.
goes
It gives you that motivation to do it. Like like it pays for your material, pays for the copies, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. So this is your first Kickstarter campaign that you've done?
Yeah, this is my first
Okay.
Kickstarter, so I kind of.
You did the right thing, Joe.
You killed it. You killed your
Thanks.
goal. So
Thank you.
congrats there, right?
Yeah.
You did the right thing by going as low as possible on your
Mhm.
goal. Like, I feel like that's something that a lot of first-time Kickstarter guys don't do. And like they always go out of the gate like, I got a goal of 15,000, and
Right.
then the end of the campaign comes and they've made $750,
Yeah.
like I feel like if you
And they
can
wonder why.
make it work, sometimes people can't. Like sometimes like if you're the writer, let's say, and you got to pay the artist, the letterer, the colorist, an editor possibly, then
Mhm.
you got to work that out in your head. Like, I need this much money to at least make the book, and then
Yeah.
print it. So it depends on what your costs are, right, Johnny? Johnny, what were you gonna say?
Totally. And one other thing I wanted to say is that, like, good on you for having a campaign that like hit its goal, where you're a profile that hasn't backed any other campaign. Usually, a lot of people will have to back other campaigns, build their profile up, and then launch their campaign. You guys had enough support behind you where you're able to just launch the page and then hit your goal, no problem. So that's really awesome. You guys were able to do that. You brought people to the platform. So you guys did a real good job in that regard.
Cool. Yeah, I had no idea how it was gonna go. Like halfway through, I was like, "Oh, we're only 42% or something."
Well, you
Yeah,
always
I mean-
the middle becomes kind of dead usually in most
Yeah.
campaigns.
Yeah.
And you start off strong and then it kind of plateaus, and then you get a lot more activity at the
Hopefully,
end
we get some
usually.
more. Our first stretch goal is 1,000. So
Oh, awesome. Well, hopefully you
What are
guys
you
can
doing
get
at
there.
what are you doing at the stretch goal?
it's vinyl sticker, an amazing
Oh, okay.
vinyl sticker designed
Nice.
by me. Woo!
So tell us a
Is it
little.
on the
So
page itself, or can we see it on the page? Or
let me bring it up. Let's bring it up.
So when I was looking through the campaign earlier, I
Actually,
noticed
hang
one
on.
project had photos. Like, it was a photo comic, right?
Yeah, it's I did another interview last week, and apparently that's called fumetti. For anybody who
It
didn't
is
know.
called fumetti.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's
Which are
I did
Italian
not
fumetti?
know
comics.
that.
Yeah, those are Italian comics. So
Yeah.
some Italian comics, they'd be called fumettis, and what they would do is they'd be photographed images with word balloons put in, and they'd be like romance magazines and things like that, Diabolique, things like that. That would be these specific kind of comics that were photographed, but then presented like a comic book would be.
Yeah, I kind
And
of
I thought that
assumed that would be maybe easier than drawing out panels, but nope, it's not.
Yeah, it is a lot more intensive because there's a lot of set dress and a lot of continuity, and the way you have to photograph people, it's a lot more complicated and a lot more time consuming than, say, on your own free time illustrating panels and things of that nature. So again, that caught my eye the most, because, like, wow, that's a lot of work,
Mhm.
Awesome. Yeah, I never heard that term. That's something I learned tonight.
Yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, I'll come on your show and talk about fumetti.
Yeah.
It sounds like a naughty word or something.
Yeah,
Like it doesn't belong. But yeah, this looks cool, dude. So tell us a little bit about Death itself. Like, how many stories are in the book?
Okay, so as you've probably already gathered, it's a collaborative horror anthology, and it has 2 stories and a collection of spooky poetry.
Okay.
So the first story was me and Johnny Leach is the writer, and this story, I kind of came to him with an idea, and he ended up kind of adapting a short play that he had written for this story. It's with the hand coming in. That's the
Is this your art,
called The
Joe?
Covenant. Yeah, that's my art.
I see the
Awesome, man.
Magnolia
Looks great.
influence.
Yeah,
especially on the- it's
yeah.
great.
I like a lot of black. I was like, ooh, we
Yeah,
can add
it's
that
great.
much
It reminds
black
me
to
of like
a page.
Magnolia or like early TMNT.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love
Yeah.
that vibe, like that real.
What a
old
great
school
name
comic
for a
vibe.
comic too, like Death itself. Like what's scarier than death, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so we kind of worked back and forth on that one, and then the second one is this is a page from that. It's called Cryptid Lines, and it's a poetry collection and I did spot illustrations for it, and then as the title kind of indicates, Cryptid Lines. We wanted it to be like they're a collection of poetic sketches, kind of. And so I
Okay.
wanted to keep with this theme of sketching. So rather than having like more finalized, finished artwork, I decided to just draw straight on the page, sketch straight on the page, and just ink right over it. And then that would be the art for the
Oh,
spot
interesting.
images.
Cool.
It
So
says here, it says creatures from the Midwest. So what kind of cryptid creatures are from the Midwest?
let's see.
Well, the Thunderbird, right?
Yeah,
Thunderbird's right
Thunderbird
there.
is one. Let's see, Jackalope, Sasquatch.
Nice.
What else do we got? We got a lesser known one called Sus that you may not
Never
have
heard of that one.
Okay,
It's very super sus.
It's very.
Very
And then,
sus.
we have it. Did I say Jackalope already?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jackalope. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, pretty sure.
That's cool. So is it all cryptids from your kind of area?
Yeah. I thought about maybe, what if we do a Loch Ness monster? But no, it's kind of, I don't know. I kind of like the vibe of having them all like regional.
Yeah, no, that's really
Yeah.
cool. And this is what was it called? Fometti? What was
Fometti.
Yeah.
Fometti.
Yeah.
I've seen this in other I want to say DC did a Vertigo graphic novel like this called it was called like I forget what it was called. It was like about a paparazzi guy. So it was like done with like a lot of like paparazzi kind of photos and things like that. I forget the name of it. It was like iPaparazzi or something like that but it's very interesting. And then you
Love it.
put the photos in, and then you do the lettering and stuff over the photos in Photoshop.
I kind of so I should say before we get into this, the poetry was all done by my friend who lives in Emporia, Kansas, Kevin Rabus, and he was actually the poet laureate of Kansas one year, and his wife just happened to teach a Zumba class at the gym, and my wife goes to the class, and we just kind of connected that way. So you got to give him a shout out first. But and then this book I worked on with Nikki Rocco, which she's actually in Brick Mob, and she's been a photographer for years and years, and she had these a bunch of like creepy items, and she has like a studio space, and so the story kind of wrote itself in a way, because and the two kids are our kid, or the baby is my kid, and the older kid, the 10-year-old, is her kid. So we kind of enlisted them as our cast.
Were you on set when you were shooting, doing the photography, Joe?
Yeah. So
did you direct every shot that you guys did, or how did you do that?
Yeah, so I kind of functioned as I drew out storyboards for all these panels. Like I first thumbnailed it out, and then I refined it, and then drew out the poses. Some of them we were able to recreate, and some not. But I was there directing, and we can't do that. What if we do this? And like checking on continuity, and like, but he was looking that way, and she was just all about framing and lighting and getting it looking good, basically. And
right.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So how long of a process was it to get everything shot for that?
Oh man, it was over the course of a couple months. Not constantly working, obviously, but we had
chipping away a little bit at a time.
Yeah, some sessions, and some of the setups were a lot more complicated. So sometimes we would just do one in a day, one in an evening or whatever, and then sometimes we would be able to do like some close-ups. We could do this here, move this a little bit, do another shot here, and then we have to get the kids to kind of cooperate and like give us the right expressions, don't look too weird or goofy, which was a challenge, but it was
Right,
I think
I
it was
can imagine.
fun.
Yeah, it looks cool. Like before we go any further, I know Johnny has to dip out a little bit early because you gotta be somewhere for 9:30, right, Johnny?
Yeah. So I was just gonna say I'm gonna dip out. Joe, it's great seeing your project.
Cool.
I already backed before the show started. I can't wait to get it in the mail when it comes.
Thank you.
But good luck with the project, and I hope everybody out there is watching. Back this. This looks like a really, really cool project. Let's get them to 1,000, so that way we can get that stretch goal included with our prizes. And peace out, everybody. Read comics. Be kind to each other.
All right, Johnny. We'll see you next week we're
Harry,
live
you're in
again.
charge.
Yeah.
Will it?
Harry, you're in charge, okay?
Okay, all right.
All right, sounds good. Peace out,
Awesome,
guys.
Johnny. I'll talk to you soon. Text me
You
later.
got it.
All
I
right,
will
Bardo.
let you know.
All right,
Yeah,
later,
bye.
man. All right, good night. So you know, it's fun. I'm glad you explained what this was, Joe, because when I you know, whenever I get a guest request, I usually just go for a quick search on the project and just take a look and, you know, make sure there's nothing super crazy that we can't show on the show, things like
Right.
that. And I scrolled through, and the first thing I thought this was like AI comics, which you know, whatever. I'm not against it either. Like
Yeah, I
feel like
I haven't decided how I feel about all that.
I know. Well,
It's kind of disturbing.
it
but-
is. We had an episode where we had a guest on, like, I don't know, 3 months ago who does an AI comic on Kickstarter. And he was telling us that, you know, much like this photo stuff from what you're describing, is that it's a lot of work. Like, it's a lot more work than you think it is, you know, because you're spending time resizing photos. If you don't get the pose you want, you have to play around with the prompts and things like that. And
Does the AI get a credit in the book or in the?
I think so. Well, there's
co-author?
something that just happened with Kickstarter not too long ago, like, where you have to, I guess they're allowing AI comics on Kickstarter, but you have to kind of declare that they are AI. I think so. Maybe they're gonna put some kind of
Bibliography.
yeah, or a branding on the Kickstarters to let you know. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think this is a lot more what's the word? A lot more talent goes into this, because you actually have to make the picture, and
Yeah.
photography is a talent too, to get like a
Yeah.
nice picture, but also to frame this like a comic page, you know, especially the long panels and these smaller ones. And
Plus, it kind of helps being an artist too, because like, you know how sometimes it's hard for an artist to, or a writer to tell an artist how to do something, or vice versa. You know,
Right.
you being an artist knows, you know what you're seeing in your head, and you do it. You know, so it's
Yeah.
a lot easier for you. It's like cut out the middleman. You know.
your
Right,
wife, Abby is your wife, right? She
Yep.
said 13-month-olds don't take directions super well. Yeah, I can imagine that's a tough one, trying to get the right photo.
Yeah.
And you know, where the kid doesn't want to do anything but sit still, you know. So
He was
yeah.
relatively cooperative.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. No, I like this idea. Like, I never thought to make a comic like that, but it's interesting, you know. I would never rule it out. I would do this before I would do AI, to tell you the
Yeah,
truth.
I guess the kind of thought, I don't know exactly. I'm not sure exactly where the thought came from. But the kind of one of the things that I want to try to do with this, you know, going forward as a series, is like have as much visual diversity as possible. And so this was one thing, and like, oh, I know somebody who's a photographer. What if we try this? And apparently there are a lot of you know, fumetti comics out there in the world, but I've never seen one myself. The only thing that I might think of is manga uses it kind of for backgrounds, like they like knock out the levels of like a
Yeah,
photograph,
and I've
like,
seen comics where they'll use a photo, but then they rasterize it so much that it looks like a comic, but you could totally tell it was a photo,
yeah.
you know, beforehand. I much prefer, if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna do a photo, to do it just like this, where it's like, you know,
Right.
it's a real, you know, like, just like the stuff they used to do in Wizard. Remember they used to do something like this in Wizard magazine, where they would like, it would just, it wasn't just the people, it was like the action figures talking to each other and things like that. I don't know, it's not bad. Like, I kind of like it, you know. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting to see in an anthology. And then now, so it's the 2 stories, and then poetry, you said, with spot illustration.
Yes, yeah. So 2 8-page stories and then an 8-page poetry collection.
Oh, okay. So how many pages total? Like 30?
It's 24, and then the special edition has an additional 8 pages.
Okay.
Like, you know, behind the scenes, kind of explain what all went into it. Some extra like sketches and whatnot.
I love this format too. It reminds me of the old zines that I used to make in art school with friends and stuff like that too. And so I like that. I like the look of that, you know.
Yeah.
So this is the standard reward tier.
Yeah.
Vinyl. Oh, so this is the vinyl sticker. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's your artwork. Yep.
Yeah,
I take it right. Yep. Awesome enamel
Is that your
pin.
cat too? Okay.
What's that?
No, it's not my cat.
Oh yeah, so this looks cool. We'll have to check out the trailer here in a
Yeah.
second. But
Yeah,
out of perks, like, is there a particular one that you recommend to people, or is it?
Oh, there's some cool ones in there. I like the portrait one. I hope some people do the portrait. 'Cause one of the, like, thank
little-
you. They have I have the list of names for the people who contributed above a certain level, and if you contribute above a certain other level, I have 9 spots that I can potentially draw a portrait of the contributor in the
cool.
comic itself. So
Is
that's-
that where's that? Is it this
it's
level?
low. It's down further. It's
Alright,
down
we
there
can-
somewhere.
Special edition?
It'll let's see. It'll. Oh, I'll tell you when.
Alright, let me
It
keep
is,
going. Oh wow, you offered a lot of different levels, huh?
Yeah, I might trim that back. Yeah, it's that one right there.
This one, Lost Souls.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So you have a section in the back that would have that picture in it. That's really
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Very cool, dude.
Yeah, and that was fun. And then
fire.
I have some of the original sketches, and then this one is more
I'm
of like
inside your
an
house.
art piece. Yeah, and that one I thought it'd be fun to have like somebody like you have a Bigfoot and he's like holding your decapitated head and like posing with you or something like that. Kind of fun thing.
Yeah,
Offer a mural too.
Yeah, you get a mural.
Yeah, you offer a mural in the house.
Yeah, I'll do a mural in your house.
Yeah.
When you're asleep, so you wake up and then like, what the
That would be funny, actually. I wouldn't put it past someone trying to do that on Kickstarter, you know?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's great. Yeah, this looks cool. Like my income isn't like what it used to be, but I could totally afford the digital, so I'll probably have to try to
That's cool.
grab the digital before before it closes out.
Cool,
So
cool.
no, so this is the first of many, you said? Like you're
Yeah, this
planning on
is
doing
volume 1, so hopefully there'll be. The plan is to put out one every year, so
Okay.
and try to
That's not a-
get
that's
it
not
out.
a-
By
I feel like that's an
Halloween.
easy goal to hit, like
Mhm.
doing one a year. I like it. You hit your goals, so you can just grow from here, So
Yeah.
so that's awesome. But I do want to show the trailer here too, real quick. Let me see if we can get that here. I'll make it big. Awesome, dude. That's great. Yeah. Let me share. I like it. It was very, very nice horror trailer,
Mhm, yeah,
Let me share that in the chat.
putting
So
the
if
graphic
anybody's
design degree to use.
yeah, right. Yeah. Harry, you ever do anything like that? Like a trailer for like thing
Nah,
like this with your
mostly-
graphic?
I mostly illustrate. I just do illustrations and prints mostly. Nothing really. I do I do T-shirts too on the side, so I do like
Right.
fun things like that.
Okay.
One
Yeah,
last-
we Brick Mob started out as a t-shirt company.
yeah.
So they have
Oh,
like a
cool.
whole print studio in there. Now it's become kind of the paint storage studio, but we do still do t-shirts once in a while.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. I like this Brick Mob company that you're part of. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty
I'm
nice.
just digging into that site a little while. I mean, I can't believe all the murals you guys did. That's nuts.
Mhm.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, we're-
No, but I like that you're doing anthology. I've never been a part of one. Like, I know it's too bad Johnny had to leave, but Johnny does anthologies all the time.
hmm.
And I've thought about being a part of one, but I don't know. I don't know. I end up with just working on my own stuff,
Yeah.
So it's tough to like just
It
drop
is.
and do it for somebody else. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know the bonuses though. Like if it's your anthology, that's one thing, but it's
Right.
so if you're working for someone else. Harry, did you have any questions for Joe?
So, how long, have you? When did you start drawing, or when did you know you want to do this kind of work?
Oh well, I mean, I started drawing, as soon
Oh,
as I could pick up a pencil. But
yeah.
like, as far as doing this for work, it's like, I went to college. I'm like, oh, I like art. I'll do art, and then I did art, and then I was like, okay, student loans are starting to get crazy. Let's drop out of college, and I just worked for like 5 years, and then I was like,
Yeah.
and then my girlfriend at the time was like, "You should go back to college," and I said, "Okay, I guess I will." And so then I did art some more, and then I thought, well, I guess I better find out how to make a living, and then graphic design was kind of the
So
way
did
I
you
went.
start off as like like a classically trained artist and
Yeah, I
then
started
moved
out
to
like
graphic
studio
arts?
arts. I did like a lot of life drawing classes was kind of my main thing. Some
Yeah.
paint, all sorts of painting, all that, and then went into graphic design, and that was like a whole nother thing. I had to like kind of uh, rewire my brain a little bit to kind of figure out what that's all about. And I think it's kind of been a good like kind of like a made me more well rounded, I guess, as an artist. Having that, and then I went out in the workforce, and I worked for a couple of years in graphic design, and was kind of disenchanted with that whole situation, working for a marketing agency and another
Mhm.
place that they just kind of like go through people like, okay, we have to give you a raise now, okay, let's fire you and get somebody else, kind of
Yeah.
situation. so, so then I was like,
Yeah.
maybe I can just do my own thing for a living. And I went to college with Chris, which is the guy that owns Brick Mob, and he was getting that started up, and I was like, okay, maybe this can be a thing. And I was kind of getting more into caricatures at the time too, so I was like, okay, let's try to maybe make a living just by myself. And so
So
that
the caricature thing is interesting. Do you like so I know people like I've had friends that worked for like Six Flags and they would go and they would do characters all day at the amusement park. And then I have other people that I know that would get hired for like corporate gigs and go out and like do 2 hours and do characters and things
Mhm.
like that. Is that the kind of work you do like with the characters?
Yeah, so I've never worked for a company like what you have at Six Flags. I've always kind of done my own thing and just kind of just like post it on social media, and then get people with having a party. They'll just search on Instagram or Facebook like caricature artists, and then I pop up every once in a while, and they're like, "Hey, come down here, come to this wedding."
Do you
Um,
draw the with the person in front of you, or do you draw from a picture, or how do you do
I
this?
prefer to draw with the person in front of me because
Yeah.
the picture, you get like a weird angle, then it's not necessarily going to look like them all the time, or like weird lighting. But
Yeah.
I mean, I can do it from a picture, but I prefer the person sitting in front of me, and just kind of, uh,
I've
yeah.
done a bunch. I've done a bunch by pictures, not with the person in front of me, because I'm always afraid that the person might be offended.
Yeah, it's amazing like how far afield from what a person really looks like you can go, and them still be like, oh yeah, that looks like me. Because
Yeah.
even when I first started out and I wasn't very good, people would always be like, oh yeah, oh yeah, that's funny. Oh, look at his big nose. So it's like
Did you ever have anyone fight, like get mad at you because it doesn't look like them, or
only one time because I made this lady too tiny, and they kind of got offended and walked away. I don't know why she was offended because she was
really?
tiny, but
Huh?
it was at like a
Interesting.
beer. It was at a brewery, a local brewery in Wichita. Was at their like anniversary party, and so a bunch of like rando drunk people came in off the street, and so
There was a funny Impractical Jokers episode where they had pre-drawn caricatures, and
mm,
people would come up, and then they would just pretend they were drawing, and then like show them this like ridiculous thing that had nothing to do with what they looked like. You know?
that's funny.
It's like part of the joke. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I forget some of the stories my buddies are telling me, but I know like the freelance ones sound like a nightmare because they want like what was my buddy saying? Something like they wanted to hire him for like 2 hours, but then they wanted like all 300 people at this party to get drawn, and I was
Nope.
like, you gotta be shitting me.
That's when I say, nope.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he said too.
Yeah.
There's
Oh,
our
look at that. Yeah.
Cool.
that's
That's
the
a
top
caricature. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
well, that one I did. It was weird because that we just went on a talk show. We were just talking about it before, and so he asked me to, the guy that was interviewing us on his talk show asked me to draw a picture. I'm like, oh, I'll just draw you. But then I forgot all about being, having to be on that show and having to do a drawing.
Mm.
That this one just fell out of my head. You know how I was talking about like as an artist, you can like picture something in your head, and
Right.
it just spills out. You just draw it on your paper and you're done. I mean, my brain works weirdly like that. If I see something, if I'm at 3 o'clock in the morning tonight, if I'm going to bed and I have an idea and I picture it, I draw it real quick, so I won't
Do
forget
you
it.
really?
It's kind of like writing for some people. Like they
Yeah,
don't want to forget it, an idea or something. I mean,
yeah,
I
I
have
haven't.
a whole list of things, ideas in the other room too, of like things I want to draw
So
and get to one day, but my brain is it works, strangely like that. I can't.
Right.
Once it's
I
if I can see it, if I can picture it in my head, I can do it. I can draw it.
huh.
It's already
So
done.
like even at like 3 a.m, Harry, you'll grab a pad and just start drawing.
So I won't forget. Yeah, because
Interesting.
one time
I don't think I could do it.
well,
I don't know, like I'm all dopey in the middle of the night and stuff. Like I don't think I could
Well,
do it, dude.
well, that's why that's because I know that I'll forget it, or and I'll lose it if I forget it. But
Well, I keep a notes thing on my phone for like when I do get an idea,
Yeah.
like or just hey Siri, write this down or whatever. And even if it's just like an idea for a plot or something, I do that.
Yeah.
Um,
I've had that happen a couple of times when I'm
yeah, like do you write as well, Joe? Do you do you write
yeah,
your own stories and stuff?
yeah, especially with this mouse comic. With the Death Itself comic, I basically wrote the last one, underneath the Fumetti one, but
Okay.
that one was more like it kind of almost wrote itself in a way, but there was a few kind of twists that I added in that I don't want to give it away, but there's a bit of a twist to it. I don't know how effective it is or not, but I mean,
Right. It's hard in a comic to get a twist to go well,
yeah,
Usually like a cliffhanger is more effective, but
mhm.
but sometimes the twists work,
Yeah, it's
like
pretty subtle, so
okay. Yep.
but,
All right. I I was gonna say so do most of the comics that you made have you also been the writer on them as well? Oh wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This Death Itself was the first time I've collaborated with other writers,
Oh wow. Okay.
um, because
It
it's
must
just
be
like
different to take a script from someone else and then
yeah.
like when you're used to actually making your own script and stuff.
Yeah, Death Itself is kind of it's really super collaborative. So it wasn't just like taking a script; it was more
Here's
like
my idea, and
working
then you
back
kind
and
of
forth, and like
yeah, like you kind of interpret the idea rather than
yeah,
like them being like, all right, I need like 10 bushes on this page and not 9, I need 10. Like
yeah,
it's not like what I mean, it's like
yeah.
not
And I guess
specific, which some writers get.
yeah, I guess with the poetry collection, it was more like it was more like a general direction that I was giving him because he's not like a horror writer. He's just a poet, and and I
Okay.
was trying to get him to get into the right frame of mind and the right kind of tone for it. But he did I didn't like direct him as far as like, oh, use this word or use that word necessarily. It's just like so. I definitely didn't contribute on that part as far as writing goes, but everything else, like the mouse comic, I have a whole huge storyline wrote out right now for the mouse comic, but
No, what is that? Like, what's the title? Is it the mouse
it's
comic?
called Mouse, not the German spelling, the English spelling, not to be confused, but it has a subtitle. The first one, I was just doing it as a one-off. It was during the pandemic, 2020 when I did that because it's like, well, and because that was the first year I was like, okay, this year is going to be the year I'm going to go out and make a living as an artist, just art only, and then pandemic happened. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll make a comic book instead because I'm not busy with everything else. But
Were you able to like? Yeah, see, I know the pandemic like hit people in weird, different ways. We started this show in the pandemic, which was like I was looking to start a YouTube channel, and for months I was like, I got to do it, I got to start it. And, it's like the hardest thing is always starting something.
mhm,
And then once it's up and running, you get used to it and it becomes part of your schedule.
right,
But, so I started the show in the pandemic. I did more comics. I actually, it sounds horrible, but I loved being like cut off from everybody. And like, I got so much work done.
yeah,
And I felt bad for it because a lot of people were really suffering. But like, even when, the places started opening up, I'm like, no, close them down again. you know,
That's
it
funny.
was bad, but I don't know. I had a lot of stuff happening, like
Mm,
comics and everything. So it was a good
yeah,
time for me actually. So
yeah. I did kind of feel kind of okay about it because I moved out of town, and so I was kind of had that FOMO feeling because all my friends live like in this other town, and I'm like, oh no, everybody's going out and partying. Oh, I guess not.
yeah, right. Yeah, there's like once all the noise is taken out of your life and everything's shut down, it's easier to focus on stuff, Like
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's true.
It's easier to just do comics or do a show and
Yeah.
not have to worry about being somewhere or doing something. So I appreciated that part of the pandemic. So
Hmm.
If I
but
only
yeah.
knew, like I lost, I lost my job, because of the pandemic, and I was on, I got furloughed, and I was like on, you know, collecting at that point. But if I only knew when the end date was of when I would go back to work, then I would have, spent my time much better differently. You know what I mean? Because like I
Yeah.
was wondering when are we going back? So I could have gotten a lot more because I never knew when that day would be, when things would be solved, or
Right.
or the pandemic would be over. But I wish I
Right,
knew
right.
the end date.
Yeah. So that we are time
Right.
frame, right,
Yeah,
to
I
get
know.
something done.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, let me share out the link for your Kickstarter again for anybody that's just joining us that may wants to check it out, especially if you like horror. Is there a specific horror movie or anything that influenced this project that you think, or is it more like stuff
Oh,
like Tales from the Crypt,
uh, not
or you
really.
just wanted to do horror stories, or
I just kind of horror was kind of the well, one thing that I wanted to do from the start was make it black and white, and I thought
yeah, that's good.
horror would work better for black and white.
Absolutely.
Just work better together with that, and then it kind of spawned out of the zine, which was kind of started out as a horror story. Just that one was a horror story. So like, oh, let's just continue that as kind of the theme, like
Yeah, I
umbrella.
like the zipatone you used too in the artwork there a little bit. That's
Yeah, yeah,
very gives it like kind of a nice mood to it, to
yeah.
the black and white and stuff.
So
Yeah, I like when I like horror comics if they're black and white too. I agree with that. Like it's got a nice look to it with the grays and it gives you like it makes the atmosphere of the book like work better.
Hmm.
Like which was, like with the Walking Dead comic, that was all black and white, which I hate that they went back and colored it after,
Yeah.
but like I thought that was amazing that they that they did that. And it was
Is
such
there a
a huge
name for
hit.
that, like noir or something like that? Or
What's that?
is there a name? Is it noir or something like that? Is that like
Well,
a,
noir is more like, yeah, I guess. I mean, you kind of, when you say the word, it kind of feels like whatever you're talking about should be black and
so-
white, but it's
it
usually
sounds very
mostly
fancy.
like detective stories, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
kind of style. Yeah.
yeah, like a style, like
not like
usually.
not like creepy Nosferatu rocking around.
No, I don't know. That's more like. Would you say that's more like gothic, or?
Yeah, maybe. I kind of the word noir kind of like blends into different things for me.
It
It's like
does a little
like
bit, yeah.
detective, but it's also kind of that black,
That
shadowy
style of like storytelling too.
like the guy
like-
smoking a cigarette.
Sin City, almost.
I don't know.
Sin
yeah,
City.
definitely. What's that?
Sin City, is that like kind of like?
Yeah, that's like a noir, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, noirish,
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so it's, yeah, that's what I picture it, usually like all that kind of style, like with the like one color kind of thing,
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Unless it's
yeah,
blood,
no.
it's red.
What's that?
Unless it's blood, then it's red. Like
Right. Usually even with the comics in City, they do it all in, or Frank Miller does it all in black and white and grays, and then there's usually one thing in the book that's colored,
Yeah.
whether it's the blood or it's like when he did the yellow bastard was yellow, that kind of thing, so
Yeah. Mhm.
but yeah, I like that stuff. So yeah, you don't see it as much anymore, and there's definitely a bias with black and white comics, just like black and white movies and shows.
Yeah,
so.
it's weird for me because something else I was thinking about is like manga is super popular. It's
Yeah, right?
all black and white. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
that's true. And it's like outselling regular comics.
Yeah,
now.
I
Like,
wonder. I'm wondering if another thing that was kind of germinating in my mind was like, is it more popular because they can produce it faster because it's black and white,
Yeah.
and just like crank it out like book after book, just a little bit faster than having to go to that extra effort of coloring. I don't know.
yeah, maybe. Like yeah, and usually the lettering, all the word balloons are kind of the same, so that's probably like super easy to do. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's interesting. I never thought about that, but you're right. Like I would love to see, like, talk to a younger person that reads manga and see, like, do they have a bias, like, or does it bother them that it's black and white and not color, It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
And then the anime is usually based off of it, or never in
Mhm.
black and white. So it's like
No.
kind of, so yeah, kind
Yeah.
of interesting.
this doesn't really relate, but the director of what was it? The Exorcist died today.
Oh.
I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah.
my buddy texted me where me and him are big fans of
That was a creepy movie. I mean,
William Friedkin.
what was the creepiest
yeah.
part of that movie for you? You know-
What, Exorcist?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I never found like the shocking stuff to be creepy, like with the crucifix and all that. But for me, the creepiness was when the demon's face would appear in different, like on the kitchen in the background. I thought that stuff was creepy. And then like in the director's cut, or that cut they released into theaters, like 20 years ago, when they added that scene where she crawls down the stairs
Thanks.
like backwards, that was kind of creepy. But yeah, I love that movie. It's a classic,
Yeah.
Yeah, rest in peace, William Friedkin.
Yeah, really.
87 years
Going
young.
out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he was great. He was a character too. Did you ever hear some of
I've
the
never-
stories about him as a director?
No.
No? Oh my god.
Oh, I know he. You mean like him, like yanking, telling him to
Yeah,
like
Ellen
yank,
Burstyn. Yeah,
yank-
he like
yeah.
yanked her. And then the priest, I guess he was trying to get the priest to act I forget, was it sad or something, and the guy wasn't doing it right. So Freakin just went up to him and slapped him in the face, and then he roll the film, and like, the guy did the scene right after he slapped him in
Wow,
the
yeah.
face, and it was like, oh my god,
Dang.
yeah, he's and then I guess on the French Connection, how those movies are known for their car chases.
Mhm.
Like he didn't even get a permit with the city. Like he
Oh,
just
yeah.
jumped in the car with the driver, and then they
Alright.
went around and filmed everything. And he even in the documentary, he's like, we endangered so many people's lives. It wasn't
Jeez.
even. I was the guy was nuts, but I
Yeah.
love him to death, man. I
Wow.
thought he made some great movies. You know.
Well, in that movie, in The Exorcist, there's like a line when she was like laying in bed and she was like the priest was like near her, and in like I was watching, man, that's kind of creepy, whatever. As a kid, I was like watching it, but she says a line in Greek. She says, "Come to bed. You're very tired. Come to bed." I'm like, "Holy!" I'm Greek, My parents spoke Greek, and that was basically my first language,
Yeah.
And when I heard that creeped the crap out of me. You know what I mean?
It's so funny what bothers people about that
yeah.
movie, like different things,
Like the hair.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. Like I don't know if it has the same effect nowadays, but like when that came out when I was a kid, everyone knew about that movie,
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's kind of interesting. Rest in peace, William Friedkin. So,
Really.
anyways, we've been going almost an hour and 20, so I'm gonna start wrapping this up. Joe, is there any other website or anything else you want to share with people, like where where can they contact you for like caricature gigs, things like that?
Sorry, I heard a noise.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I think it's the guinea pigs.
Oh, okay.
I was like,
Oh, you should have guinea pigs. Nice.
Joe Worley art on all the social media platforms. Facebook and Instagram at least. And then Death Itself comic is on. I have a separate dedicated Instagram for that to post updates if that's what you're interested in. And then kind of my other comic page is Warbird Comics, but War is spelled with a W or with a O. Warbird Comics, and that's where I post my mouse comic updates. But all that kind of like cycles around through my Joe Worley art. So that's
Does the mouse have a name or just mouse?
Well, that's actually a plot point. It didn't start out as a plot point, but it is a plot point later on in the story. But
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and I put a link to Kickstarter in the chat as well. If anyone wants to back you, there's like something like 50 hours left, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I'll put it in the description of the video too as well. So if anyone's watching this tomorrow and wants to check out the Kickstarter, it'll be in the link in the description. Yeah, that sounds great. Harry, do you want to shout out where people can find you or anything like that?
Well, I mean, I have a link to another link, but I got a site. I use this a site called redbubble.com.
Oh yeah, for t-shirts and things
Yeah,
like
so
that, right?
and the name under my artist name is Harry G75. Pretty easy to, and I have a few things on there that I mean, I've sold. I don't really advertise because I don't. It's not really what I don't think I have enough things to sell yet, but I have a handful of things on there that if somebody was compelled, like I've sold. I have a picture of something that I've done. So when you go to the store, you see these cookies on the shelf all the time, but no one's ever done this. Alyssa Milano cookies,
Let me make that big. Alyssa Milano.
like each time I walk by these cookies, I think, oh, it's Alyssa Milano cookies. That's what I call it, But I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it one day. And I went online, made sure nobody had done it before me. And I think the last time there was I think one time you and I were both at the Boxborough Comic Con or one of those, or the Northeast Comic Cons, I forget. And Tony Danza was there. And I think I said, like, I want to show Tony this, And I think you were like, Harry, don't. I don't think it'll go. He might not like that. I'm like, whatever. It could be a funny story.
Did you show it to him?
I went up to him and I showed Tony Danza this, like, and he takes off his glasses and it's like, you're not the first person to think of that. I'm like, yeah, but I'm the first person to do it though. So,
it reminds me of a Wacky Packages. Remember those stickers, like Wacky Packages?
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, Joe?
Yeah.
It was like they would take a product like Milano
Yeah.
cookies and
Yeah,
they
they're,
would
they're still around, I
do it.
think.
Yeah, they still make them. And it's like it would be a parody of that.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like but I don't know if they ever did Melissa Milano because it might get them in trouble, but they would probably
probably
do,
not.
you know, they would probably do like some variation, like a
Yeah, I can't think of any off the top of my head
yeah, I
right
mean,
now.
the only way I could think of is they had like ragu spaghetti sauce, but the parody was raw goo.
Oh,
So it was
Oh.
just like a spaghetti sauce with like sewage, you know, it was like that kind of thing, you
yeah.
know.
I was going to
Yeah,
say
it
the
was-
big ragu from Laverne and Shirley.
My wife will perk up because she loves Laverne and Shirley.
I
She's been watching it on Pluto TV, which is
Oh,
kind of
really?
funny.
They're both gone now, right? I think they're
Yeah,
both gone. Yeah.
yeah, they are.
I mean,
Yeah, which is kind of sad.
pouring out all my beer now.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, really, there's been a lot of. Speaking of death, there's been a lot of death this year. You know,
Yeah.
like recently, everyone's.
Well,
dropping.
besides William Friedkin, the guy from Breaking Bad died. The one that played
Oh yeah.
was it
Yeah.
Hector
Hector, yeah.
Elizonko or whatever?
Mhm.
the Iron
Alaman-
Sheik.
Alamanco.
Alamanco, yeah, he died today as well.
Yeah.
Iron Sheik. Oh, that's today. Let's talk about.
Yeah.
There's other ones like Sinead and Tony Bennett. Well, Tony Bennett was 1,000,000 years old anyway. He's like 94 or 90.
Yeah, Sinead was young though. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
kind of caught me off
50-something.
guard,
Yeah.
but anyways.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, Redbubble, Harry G75.
right.
To
Yep.
see the t-shirts that you have.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Yeah, and I will end it by saying to Joe, thanks for joining us. And you know, this project looks cool. Everyone should go check it out. The link is in the chat. And if you're watching this tomorrow, the link is in the description of the video. Help out Joe. He's a new comic maker trying to make his way on Kickstarter. A reasonable goal. It's already been met. So oh, one thing I forgot to ask about your Kickstarter, Joe. So once the Kickstarter ends, what is the length until people could expect it in their hands?
So the goal, it should be before this, but the goal is to get it out to everybody by October because
Okay.
that's like Halloween. You know, that's kind
Yeah.
of that was kind of
How
the
far are you
target.
guys like mostly done the book?
Yeah, we're done with the book. I just got back the proofs, so and then after that, I'll have to if I have any other illustration in the book, add people's names to the thank you page and all that stuff.
Gotcha.
I'll do all that, and then it'll be ready to go after that. So
Now, are you doing this old school where you're gonna cut all the pages yourself and like staple everything yourself and all that?
no, I'm
No,
not
okay.
doing that.
No, that's old school. That's like
Yeah.
old school zine making,
Yeah, that was the original idea.
Was it the
though.
original idea?
Yeah.
That's funny.
But I was like, oh man, it would just be so much easier to get it printed.
Yeah, I know. That's awesome. But yeah, no, awesome. Well, so a couple months, that's pretty reasonable. So yeah, and it's all the book's done. He's just proofing it and getting ready for the printer. So check it out. You'll have it in your hands by Halloween. So check that out. Also want to let you guys know Plastic City Comic Con is happening in less than 2 weeks, Harry, I think.
Yeah. Right.
August 19th. So check that out on our website, plasticcity.com. There's also a Facebook page, and there's also you can get it tickets through Eventbrite or at the door as always. And my wife has been amping up all the ads and everything. So we've been pushing this Comic-Con like crazy. Do you do any cons, Joe, out in your area?
Yeah, I do. There's several that come through Wichita, and then I do.
Do you set up?
Yeah, I set up. I do caricatures and also prints and the comic books that I have. And I do Planet Comic-Con every year. That's the biggest one that I go to. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've heard of that one. I heard that one's good. Yeah, caricatures guys do really well at Comic-Cons, I find.
Yeah.
You know, especially you set up the easel right there and, have the stool and everybody,
Yep.
Comes by. And yeah, that's awesome, man. So that's awesome. All right. Well, yeah. So check that all out. I'm going to end this one unless anybody has any last words.
Is that commercial that was made today for the Plastic City comic? Is that being shown anywhere, or is that just?
Oh yeah. So I was supposed to have it like weeks ago. So I just literally got it Sunday night. So last night. I it should be in rotation on Facebook tomorrow. Like I set up like an ad campaign and things like that to put it on Instagram and all those places. So I was trying to get it on Hulu,
Mhm.
but they have an ads thing, and I put in all my info, and I haven't heard a peep from them. So I don't know if they might not let ads for Comic-Cons happen on their thing. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I was gonna look into cable like cable too, to see if I could get it on there. But if I can, I'll just push it like crazy on social media. So
Yeah.
and then I can cut it and use it in other places after the show too. Like just take out the dates and stuff.
Right. And
So-
other than that, thank you for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, it was good to have you as a co-host finally.
Yeah.
Like I was saying
also-
earlier, Harry's been in watching our show since
Okay.
almost the beginning. So we've been doing this like what 3 years, almost 3 years now,
Yeah,
which is
right.
crazy.
Yep.
So I finally feel like I'm kind of okay at it now. Like
Mhm.
our early ones are a disaster. I was like hitting buttons and screens were coming up, and I didn't know what was going on. So, but anyways, all right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. And all the new people that watched us tonight or came in for Joe, thank you for watching. If you have it in your hearts, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Even if you don't watch it, we just want the numbers. So so check that out. And then have a great week, and as always, read some comics. All right, everybody, good night, and we will
Have a
talk
night.
to you later.
Night.
Bye.